Hi, my name's Peter Coffin, and I hold right here in my hands bomb-making ingredients. So, with these little bastards, according to Destiny, political streamer extraordinaire, I am dangerous.
Why were cookies being prevented from going in?
And
what were
potato
custom
chips.
rockets fueled with?
Yeah, with cookies? Yeah.
With sugar and fertilizer.
So Breaking Points, the political podcast's offshoot Counterpoints, hosted a debate between Destiny and Omar Baddar, whom I am unfamiliar with, but his Instagram says that he is a progressive political analyst. So anyway, here's the full context of what happened.
What they're currently doing is obviously not defensible, to be devastating the civilian population in order to thin that population, by the words of Israel's leader right now.
When the population has always had a calorie surplus.
Yeah, even the diet part.
Calorie surplus.
They literally have. And that's also why Finkelstein got mad, because if you try to cite, really, wait, these people are starving? By what metric? You can't find it by
That's what's so infuriating, Stephen, is that you want to start counting calories and try to discover whether they have a surplus or not, when you're missing the fact that Israel getting to decide what food gets into Gaza is itself outrageous.
Right.
One people does not get to control whether another side gets to have cookies for their children,
and you know
or potato chips or sodas. You don't get to do that. That's a level of dominance and oppression that is unacceptable.
But you're not capable of having it because you won't even admit why the blockade exists.
I'm not there. I'm not going to pretend that I know the situation in Gaza. But I agree with this Omar gentleman's point. They should not have control over the food supply in Gaza. I mean, people in our country hate the idea of our government being in control of our food supply. And this is a tiny little non-imperial nation which another country, backed by the entire West, is in control of their food supply. But Destiny doesn't believe Omar is capable of that conversation because he won't admit that they're going to make missiles out of the cookies.
Why were cookies being prevented from going in?
And
what were custom
chips.
Rockets fueled with?
Yeah, with cookies? Yeah.
With sugar and fertilizer. Yes, that's how they made the early rockets, the first generation that was
we're going to
literally
deny
used.
Palestinians in Gaza sugar because it might be used for Hamas fighters breathe air too. Maybe Israel can restrict air from going into Gaza.
I have a feeling I would get along with Omar. I use arguments like that all the time. Like when people say, you can't agree with anything Ron DeSantis says. I say, well, I agree with him about gravity. Gravity is real. We have to be able to agree with people that we disagree with on things that are clearly real. I'm not saying it's impossible to use fertilizer and sugar to make bombs. I'm not. I'm pretty sure that's possible, but I'm also pretty sure it's not how they're making the bombs. I'm going to let Ryan Grimm, who, by the way, I don't think is like some great guy or anything. He wrote a book like supporting the squad. But when somebody says something right, somebody says something right.
Did you say that Hamas is turning cookies into missiles?
My understanding is that the reason for the restricting of sugar-based products was that the first generation, I think they were called Qassam rockets, were built in really crude shops using combinations of fertilizer and sugars.
Now, just assume that's completely true, that there's nothing wrong with that statement, that it's completely correct. A precision statement that's not oversimplified or exaggerated in any way. Almost all food and drink has sugar in it. And I'm not talking about the fact that the U.S. diet is very sugar heavy. I'm talking about the fact that even when you don't add sugar to food, sugar is naturally occurring in almost everything. Fruits and vegetables have sugar in them naturally. And while you technically can separate sugar from cooked food, it's not practical to do it in the amounts you would need to make bombs, which is piles and piles of refined, granulated sugar. But let's let Ryan Grimm continue that point.
That they would use.
You know what the primary component of Hamas explosives is now?
I'm pretty sure now they use more sophisticated stuff, but I don't know. You tell me.
Unexploded Israeli bombs, because they've dropped so many over the last decade.
I doubt that's true. I'm sure they do.
With a 10 to 20% failure rate, Hamas then digs them up. The Yasin 105s that you see, blowing up all these Israeli tanks, primarily fueled by Israeli explosives.
But I doubt the majority of them are.
So I can't tell you with 100% certainty that what Ryan Grimm said right there is completely correct. I can tell you where he got that information, though, from the New York Times reporting it. In this article titled, "Where is Hamas Getting Its Weapons? Increasingly from Israel," the New York Times asserts that the very weapons that Israeli forces have used to enforce a blockade of Gaza are now being used against them. I'll just read this verbatim. "Unexploded ordnance is a main source of explosives for Hamas," said Michael Kardash, the former deputy head of the Israeli National Police Bomb Disposal Division and an Israeli police consultant. "Yeah, it's pretty hard to get enough sugar out of cookies to make bombs with, but it's pretty easy to get enough bombs out of bombs to make bombs with." This is not a pro-Hamas article, might I add. This article repeatedly talks about Hamas stealing weapons and invading Israeli towns. So if you think this article is pro-Hamas, you're wrong. According to the Middle East Monitor, Israel has dropped 65,000 tons of bombs on Gaza in the last 89 days. To be clear, that's more than 45,000 bombs. Let's just do the math on that real quick. 45,000 times 0.15. That means there is somewhere in the neighborhood of 6,750 unexploded bombs for Hamas to scavenge and repurpose. The most recent figure I was able to find for how many bombs Hamas has dropped on Israel puts it at around 9,000. Also, in terms of death, there is a massive disparity. It's actually kind of hard to get updated death counts, but the Committee to Protect Journalists posted on May 3rd that there have been 34,000 Palestinian deaths in Gaza and 1,200 deaths in Israel. That's just a hair less than 30 times as many deaths in Gaza, which, might we add, is significantly smaller than Israel with a significantly smaller population. And normal people don't look at this war and think, wow, I really think one of these sides is right. Most people don't think that. Most people see it and think, why do they need to be fighting? There should be a two-state solution, yada yada, world peace. Here's the problem with that, though. Israel, why am I holding this cookie up? I don't need this anymore. The problem with that, though, is that to understand what Israel is makes it obvious why there isn't a two-state solution brewing. Israel is an imperial client state. It exists as an outpost for the U.S. to do all of its oil shit in the Middle East. It's not a grand Jewish conspiracy. They are not in control of us. Israel, I don't think, should be just outwardly regarded as a Jewish state either. It is ethno-nationalist, that's for sure. It also doesn't represent Jewish people. Many, many Jewish people around the world do not support Israel. I am a little bit of that. I have never been like a practicing Jew or anything, and my family isn't culturally Jewish, but in terms of DNA, it's there. And I don't support Israel. I just don't. And it's not because it's Jewish. It's because of the imperial client state thing I said a minute ago. It's a satellite for US/Western imperialism. All the stuff that you don't like about what we do in oil, Israel helps enable that. And they are not in control of us. Many people like to paint them as in control of us. They are not. We are in control of them. And when people say, oh, well, Biden wants them to calm down. Biden wants them to stop doing that. No, he doesn't. No, it's words. It's not actions. We could stop them from doing that shit if we wanted to. We don't have to give them a bunch of money. We don't have to give them a bunch of weapons, but we do those things. Not we, but like the US state. And the reason that we do that is, again, like I said, because Israel as a imperial client state helps preserve our interests in the region. If you don't like when we invade a country for oil, you shouldn't like the fact that we keep Israel as an imperial client state the way we do, because it is pretty important for that. There has always been a conflict because one day Great Britain just plopped Israel there. And everybody who was there, they were like, shoo, get out. Western imperialism needs this plot of land, thank you. No, the Jews. It's the Jews that need it. Not us, not Western imperialism. The Jews need it. It's their holy land. You can't ask questions. It's anti-Semitic if you ask questions. Everybody wants there to be peace. Everybody wants them to stop fighting. Everybody wants Hamas to stop doing bad things, which I'm not going to say that they don't do bad things. It's a war. That's what happens in a war. But in terms of both quantity and effectiveness, Hamas has done significantly less than Israel has. So if the bad things that Hamas has done and is doing are unexcusable, remember, Israel is doing about 30 times more. Ongoing wars become less and less popular. That's just how it works. Because the more people learn about what's going on there, the less they want America spending money continuing it. Now, I'm not saying that if the US government wasn't spending the money in that region on war, they would suddenly start giving us health care and working on infrastructure projects and making our lives better, making our schools better, instituting a jobs program and building America. I'm not saying that would automatically happen. These are the actual problems of the world. If you resolved these, you could stop the fighting. Why? Because the necessity to have Israel operate as a client state in order for us to enforce our will upon the Middle East just evaporates into thin air. Destiny is actually out here saying they're making bombs out of cookies in Palestine, and that's why it's rational to withhold food from them. Oh boy, oh boy.
Destiny, oh destiny, what do you seek? In the depths of Wikipedia, do you find what you need? You argue with precision, armed with facts galore. But in the world outside, can you find something more?
With sugar and fruit and fertilizer, yes.
Searching for the knowledge in the endless sea. Destiny, oh destiny, will you ever find peace? Let go of the articles, set your spirit free. Destiny, oh destiny, embrace what you can't see.
I'm going to take a second to plug the Center for Political Innovation here real quick. It's a real anti-imperialist org that is spending time educating and agitating in that direction. So if you're interested in them, I'll leave a link for them in the description. And honestly, I think that's all I've got for you today. But what do you have for me? All right, there's a whole comment section down there for you to just fill up. Also, lick the buttons down here, slurp all over them, become a subscriber, and don't forget to money me. Go to patreon.com/PeterCoffin right now and money me. If you got some time to kill, my most recent documentaries right here. If you got a little less time to kill, but you want to watch some videos, these are also good. I appreciate all of the time that you've given me. I hope you have a nice day. Bye.